Hi friends, welcome to this training on Terraform on AWS or managing resources on AWS cloud using Terraform and Azure. This setup is the lab setup. This session is introduction and lab setup for working with Terraform on AWS. Agenda of this session is Terraform CLI installation, installing AWS CLI, install Visual Studio Code Editor, and install HashiCorp Terraform plugin for Visual Studio Code. By the end of the session, you should be in a position to set up the environment. Who am I? I'm Raman Sangwan, corporate trainer with 30 plus years of experience, to be precise 34 years now. Specialized in DevOps tools like Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins, Ansible, Terraform, Grafana, etc. Cloud, Oracle Cloud, OpenStack Cloud, AWS Cloud, Azure Cloud, all cloud. OCI, that is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure 2023 Architect Associate, DevOps Professional, Generative AI Professional, Oracle Cloud Data Management 2023 Certified Foundations, Oracle Integration Cloud, Linux all flavors, all databases like Sybase, Adaptive Server Enterprise, MySQL, Oracle Database, Microsoft SQL Server, and Postgres. To know more about me, you can visit my website. I have conducted training for domestic and international clients on various technologies. You can click my website, check my website rnsangwan.com or my LinkedIn profile linkedin.com/in/rnsangwan. The setup of the environment on Mac. If you are using Mac OS, how do we install Terraform? You can download Terraform on Mac. I'll take you there. Brew install HashiCorp tap and brew install HashiCorp Terraform. So brew tap and then brew install. If you are using binary for ARM 64-bit architecture or AMD 64-bit or Windows or AMD 64-bit version, you can see here. And if you are using Linux, for example, I'm using RHEL on my machine, on my Linux machine, we can use this command also, sudo install yum utils, and download set up the repository and install it. Quite straightforward installation of Oracle and of this Terraform on Linux. Like this is my Linux machine and I have installed this Terraform on this machine using the same set of commands. If I go back and check the history, let me switch to root user, sudo su hyphen, and as a root user I can show you the commands I have executed. If you see here, it was straightforward installation, sudo yum install Terraform, and check the installation version of Terraform. This is the command I have used. Quite straightforward actually. And if I grab yum also, that will show me the Terraform repository, the same command, sudo yum config manager, add the repository HashiCorp, and then install Terraform. So these are the two commands straight away on Linux. If you are using Linux, whether it is Rocky Linux or CentOS Linux or Red Hat Linux or Oracle Linux or any Linux flavor, if you are using, this is a straightforward way to install Terraform on Linux machine. Download the Terraform for Mac, install the CLI with brew command. Similarly, the zip, the link is there. I have retained the link in the PDF which you will receive during the course training. So learn hashicorp.com tutorial HashiCorp install CLI and unzip the package. And this is what I have done manually from my system. Copy the binary zip file to the folder. For example, make a directory Terraform install. Copy the file or the package Terraform install folder. Then unzip this file. This is what I have done on my Mac also. Unzip Terraform because it will show you one zip file. You have to unzip it and run the Terraform installation. Quite straightforward. Unzip Terraform Darwin AMD 64-bit. This is for Linux. And copy the binary to user local bin directory. This is another way to install Terraform. To uninstall, you can do these commands. If you're using IDE, if you need IDE, that is integrated development environment, you can use Visual Studio Code for managing the code or managing the files of our Terraform. And Visual Studio Code is recommended, and the link is there in the PDF, code.visualstudio.com/download. This will allow you to download Visual Studio Code, and it is available for Windows, Mac and Linux. Then HashiCorp Terraform plugin for Visual Studio Code, same way, the link is there, you simply download and install it. Then install AWS CLI. To install AWS CLI, you visit this website, the documentation page, a link is there for you, CLI, this command, and then install AWS CLI on Mac also, the link is available for your reference. And this is the command I have executed on my machine. Install AWS CLI version 2, like curl AWS CLI, Amazon AWS. Download this file, pkg file, and run the command installer pkg CLI, give the target, and it will show you which AWS is being executed. And this is same thing is available on my machine, on my Linux machine. Let me show you -- version. This will show me my current version of AWS CLI installed on my machine. In fact, when you set up this AWS CLI, when you configure AWS CLI, then you also set up the AWS configuration file. Let me switch to root user once again, sudo su-, and if I try the same command here, history grep AWS, you will see the command AWS check the version, AWS configure. This command will ask you the key and the secret, that is identity, and it will configure that. And if you configure this successfully, AWS CLI on your machine, then you can execute this command. It will show you the bucket. If you try AWS S3 ls, this will show buckets on my AWS account. This is testing purpose. These are my buckets. If you see Terraform Skillpedia AI, this was created during my trial and when I was verifying working of Terraform. I'll show you the same thing. How do we configure this, and what are the requirements for configuring this AWS CLI on your local machine, so that you can execute commands on Amazon Cloud from the local machine. Let me show you that process. Here you can see that I'm logged into my AWS Cloud, and I'll go to my identity and access management. On identity and access management dashboard, I first created one user, and this is the user I created. If you see, 5 days ago I created this user. If you click on the user, you can simply create a user by using this command, using this option here, create user. Let me go to the users, and here we have a quite simple option. Let me create another user, let's say demo user. This is so easy to create a demo user, and this is the way you create the demo user. And if you want to add this user to a group, I added this user, I created a group also, and let me show you to create another group. Let's say demo admin. This is so easy to create a demo user, demo admin, and which policy I want to give administrator access to this user, because I want this user to manage everything. So group is created. Now I have user created. I created one group also, and I give the administrator access, and then I can select this user, that is association. You must create a user, you must create a group, you must assign appropriate permissions to that group, and then that user must belong to that group in order to have permissions. And this is how we have done this. This is how I created that user. Now the demo user is created. Similar to Sang1, you can see that right now if you see this association is not there, the group association is not there, so I have to put this into this group. This is the group, I have to access it. Add user to group was missing. It must be verified that user. So this way we can add the user, and if I go back to that user and groups, you can see that the demo user is a part of two group I think the admin group and demo admin both. So you can see two group membership. Other one, Sang1 user, if you can see, it is only associated with one group. So first requirement, the user. Second requirement, group. Third requirement, association of the user with the group. After you created that user, then you also need to create security credentials. Here you can create the security credentials. This is the security credential part. Here you will see the access key. And this is what is needed when you run that command AWS configure. You need to create access key, like here you create the this key like this one, command line. We want to use this for command line access CLI, and I understand, and I'll create the key, and I can download, give a name to it, like let's say demo keys, and create access key. So you have that access key and you have that access secret also. So you need these two things, these two details while configuring the AWS CLI. So if I try the same thing here, AWS configure, it will ask the same thing. AWS access key, this is the existing key by the way, and AWS secret. So it will ask the same thing. You get the details from AWS, configure that, and you will be done. So that is how do we configure AWS CLI. Once you have the AWS CLI configured, then you will be able to access all resources, manage all resources from the command line. Why we are doing it? Why it is needed? Well, it is needed because whether you are using AWS cloud or Oracle cloud, these clouds have very interesting way to allow users to access the resources on their respective cloud through any tool, and that request has to go through the command line tool. And I've seen that with AWS as well, and the same thing is applicable for Oracle cloud also. And for that we need to have the AWS CLI first. Similar to OCI, we have to have OCI CLI first. And for that OCI CLI, once it is configured, all our Terraform request from my local machine will go through the AWS CLI. I repeat, the Terraform will use the configuration settings done using AWS CLI. That is the authentication mechanism. So Terraform will not be able to create resources if it does not have the permissions the corresponding to the user which you are using through AWS CLI. So first step is we have to have AWS CLI configured properly. Configure AWS prerequisite, you should have an AWS account. Create one account. If you don't have, this is the link for your reference. I demonstrated. Then generate security credentials using AWS Management Console. I just now demonstrated that part. Like this is how you do it. Go to the services, identity and access management, users, the username, security credentials, and create access key. This is precisely I demonstrated to you just now. Configure AWS credentials using SSH terminal on your local desktop. This is what we have done. So this is the command AWS configure. It will ask you the default region name, default output format, and access key ID and access secret. So you have to type the access key ID and secret access key. Once you type both these values and you specify the default region output format, you are good to go. And this is the command I demonstrated just now. Verify the credentials. You can use cat command to see the details. It's in your home directory with the name .aws directory. Inside that you will find this text file credentials. On Windows, if you have to set up, how do we do it? Download Terraform, same process. The link is there in the PDF. install CLI, the link is there in the PDF. Unzip the package, create new folder, let's say Terraform bins, copy the terraform.exe file to the Terraform bins, set the path on Windows and install AWS CLI. The link is there for your reference. If you are doing it on Linux, process is same. Download Terraform and Linux operating system, Terraform install. This is the link for your reference. Quite straightforward installation, just follow the steps, and sequence of steps is here also. This is precisely I have done. Curl, download this AWS CLI exe Linux architecture 64-bit, create a zip file, unzip this file and put it into run this command, AWS install command. It will start the installation on Linux. That's all for this session. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.